The following examples go over the properties of numbers. We're trying to distinguish, is it the commutative, associative, identity, inverse, or distributive property? And for the first four, is it of addition or is it of multiplication? So the way you do this is you examine the left side and the right side of the equation. 3 plus 4a in parentheses times 2 is equal to 2 times the parentheses 3 plus 4a. And so what you look at is what's different on the left side and the right side. So if I examine this, I see that my parentheses here that contains the 3 plus 4a is on the left of 2, while on the right side of the equation, the parentheses move to the right side. So therefore, my parentheses changed positions. So there, it's the commutative property. What we have to examine next is it the commutative property of addition, or is it the commutative property of multiplication? So we look at what did we switch positions around, and it looks like we switch positions around a multiplication sign. Therefore, it's the commutative property of multiplication. If we look at the next example, I see 62 plus my parentheses 38 plus 75 on the left, but on the right, I have my parentheses to start containing 62 and 38, and my plus 75 on the outside. So if I examine the left side, I examine the right side, it looks like my parentheses moved from containing the 38 and 75 to containing the 62 and 38. So therefore, this is the associative property. My grouping symbols moved. So it's the associative property. And we need to distinguish on, is it the associative property of addition or is it the associative property of multiplication? So I look at what did we change the groupings around, and we changed the groupings around our addition signs. So it's the associative property of addition. The next examples we'll be looking at will be examining our additive and multiplicative inverses. So when we're doing our additive inverses, those are really the gimme problems, I'll say. It's just the opposite of what you see. So we'll do both additive inverses here. The opposite of a positive 3/8 is a negative 3/8. The opposite of a negative 2.5 is a positive 2.5. Now the multiplicative inverses are different. Remember, the advice we gave was that multiplicative inverses are your reciprocal. You flip the number that you're given. So I have 3 over 8. If I flip it, I get 8 over 3. Now the ones that are different, and why it's important to know the word reciprocal for multiplicative inverses, are the ones where you're given decimals. You can't do the multiplicative inverse of a decimal. You can't flip it. It's not a fraction. So when you're dealing with problems where you're given decimals, what you want to do is you want to change it to an improper fraction. And that way you can flip it and get the reciprocal. So negative 2.5 is really negative 5 halves. So when you're flipping negative 5 halves, it becomes a negative 2/5. Now this is important too. For additive inverses, it's the opposite sign, but for multiplicative inverses, you just flip what you're given. The sign does not change. It stays what it originally was. So do be careful with multiplicative inverses. They are the harder ones. If you're not given a fraction, convert to a fraction. Now we're going to simplify variable expressions by applying our distributive property. 4 times the quantity 2b minus 6c, you would distribute the 4 to both terms to get 8b minus 24c, plus 2 times the 3b plus c. So distribute the 2 in, you get 6b plus 2c. And now we combine our like terms. 8b plus 6b is 14b. And then negative 24c plus 2c is negative 22c. Let's try the next example. Distribute the 3 into the parentheses and you get 15b plus 3c. Be careful when distributing the negative 2. Negative 2 times 2a is negative 4a, but when you distribute the negative 2, be careful, the negative negative make it a positive 6b, and then your plus a. Same idea, combine like terms. Remember, variables go in alphabetical order, so negative 4a plus a is negative 3a. 15b plus 6b is 21b. And the 3c is all by itself, so our final answer is negative 3a plus 21b plus 3c. And that is the distributive property with combining like terms.